Hi, everybody. Mr. Newland here. Let's talk about how we can use Google Colab to do some programming coding activities in a web browser. Don't have to download anything, and it works with your Google Drive. I've already opened it here, and it's got a mix of text, like you see in this first block with the little triangle, and code, like you can see in this gray and green block. Whenever I assign these Google Colab activities, there will always be questions and there will be a place for you to double click so you can type your answer. So I can double click and say, Jay Newland, working all alone, and then hit Shift Enter and it will save it. Or you can just click away. You don't have to hit Shift Enter at all. The thing about Google Colab is it runs Python code using the Jupyter Notebook kind of format, but it does it in the web browser and it lets you save it in the up in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about software on your own computer. The way Google Colab uses the Jupyter Notebook kind of interface is there'll be text like you see up here, and there'll be code like you see there, and you can hit the play button to actually run it. Oh, it's telling me that this is not authored by Google. Are you sure you trust this stuff? And you do. You want to run it anyway. So you can certainly hit the play button to run a chunk of code. Notice that it's running this one line that's green is just a comment. So the program won't run it, but line two, it actually does 2 plus 2 and tells me 4. If I want to try doing that for this block without hitting the play button, I can hit Shift and Enter, and it does the same thing. Again, it skips the green lines, which are comments, and it runs line 4. Notice they're numbered. That makes it a lot easier when you're talking to someone in a particular block. You can say, no, no, in that block, go to line, ja, ja, ja. So as you go through and run these, it tells you particular things. It walks you through what's going on. On line 2 here, it's declared a variable called A and stored the number 4. There, it declared a variable called B and it stored the number 3. And then on line 6, it adds them together. Notice that Google Colab will only run the code in a particular block. It didn't run the stuff down here. It didn't rerun the stuff up here. It's just doing what's in that one particular section. So on the next one, notice, by the way, the comments at the end of the line of code. So all this green text is just for a human to read. Where you see that pound sign or the hashtag, you'll notice that everything after that, the computer is ignoring. But at the beginning of line 1, it says C equals A times A. Now, the equal sign in Python, like a lot of programming languages, is not a mathematical thing. It's a command. So it's going to do everything on the right-hand side and then store it into the left. Like up here, it's stored 4 into A. It's stored 3 into B. Here, what it's going to do is multiply A, whatever it was before, in this case 4, it's going to multiply by itself, and then it's going to store it into that variable. And then when you put the variable by itself on line 2, it's just going to basically print it out. So it tells me what's in there. You can also use the print command. You don't have to put the variable name there. So that was essentially a way to square A by multiplying it by itself. And down here, if you don't want to say, I just coded in Python, you say, I love Python, and then hit Shift Enter. It'll print whatever you put inside the red in between the two just sets double quotes. So this is known, by the way, as a string. So then it's going to step you through some other kind of exercises, but really the entire point of this is just to get a basic sense of how to look at code and run code. We might as well do the last block. Can you figure out what B asterisk asterisk A does? So let's go back and look at what B was. B is 3, and I've not changed it, so it still is. And A is the number 4. So that is asterisk asterisk. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not just multiplying it. So I'm going to hit Shift and Enter, and I end up with the number 81. So what the asterisk asterisk does is it says take B, raise it to the A power. So this is a way to raise B to the A, and then store it into the variable E. So B raised to the A power stored in E. And then this last block is a chunk of markdown where you've mixed together, or I have mixed together, text and the formatting things that you can do with it. Notice that if you put a word inside a single set of asterisks, it makes it italics. Double asterisks makes it bold. If you want to make something into a link, you put the text that you want people to click on in square brackets, and then the actual link, including the HTTPS part, in parentheses. The same can be done for pictures. You put a exclamation point and then some sort of text inside the square brackets, and then the URL for the image, and it'll actually load it. You'll notice that there's also a way to make things big heading, which is this one hashtag there, or pound sign, but if you put two of them, it makes it slightly smaller. And if you notice when I scroll down, all of the formatted stuff is actually there. There's the one pound sign text with the kind of biggest heading. There's the two pound sign text that try this. There's the adorable little kitten. There's the link, and there's italics. There's bold. Now, most of the time, you're not going to need to do any of this fancy stuff in Markdown, but it's there for you to do. And then the last thing I'll say is you can save this in your drive. Notice there's a copy to drive right there. There's also a file, save a copy in drive, so you can do it that way. You can also download just the Python code as a .py file, or the entire thing as a notebook, a .pynb. But that would require, both of these would require you to have Python running tools on your local computer. The way this works, you don't need anything on your computer other than a web browser. So I want to thank Mr. Lamy, who is the person who started all this stuff and gave me a leg up on how to make this stuff work. And I hope that can get you going in writing your own code.